Hello everybody, welcome back. We are working on this CJ5 body tub that I've been restoring, and what you're looking at right now is 3 coats of 2K high build primer. You'll notice it's a little darker than the stuff I use on the underside. No sense in using the expensive stuff on the bottom or you know, where you're not going to see it and stuff. I use some DP20 on the bottom, and it's made by RM, and that's part of the BASF company, and that's a very nice primer, but it's a little cheaper than the 2K high build. So where I don't need it, I use that on the underside and stuff. But hard to see what's going on, but there's 2 coats on that. That's going to get a little wet sanding, and that won't be in good shape to either shoot another coat or go right to the blue. Now I'm going to take you inside and show you the Sierra blue that I had mixed up, and show you what that looks like. Okay, to get a perfect match on this Sierra blue, I took the glove box door, which has not been sandblasted or anything. It's still got its original paint on it, and took it to the paint store, and we buffed a small area, you can see right here, and then put it under the computer and let the computer do the matching for us. Here is the finished product. I think you can see that okay. So to do a Jeep properly, usually takes me, I mean, you could put it on skimpy and stuff and not do the underside real well, but takes me 5 quarts of paint. So I have 2.5 quarts in each gallon container here, and that's what's going to do the every piece, the fenders, body tub, tailgate, dashboard, everything's going to get coated both sides. So it takes about 5 quarts to do that, with the associated hardener, reducer, and there's just a whole lot to a paint job. But that's what I have so far, and the computer spits out how close a match it makes to that, and that's a 97% match we have. And this is a urethane paint. It's not enamel or anything junky like that. It's a nice urethane paint, so how it goes down, it'll look good this year, next year, and 10 years from now. You can wash it, wax as many times as you like. You won't get any paint on your rag or anything like the old enamel. Super high quality paint, and I can't probably paint for, I don't know, maybe 2-3 days. The humidity is oppressive here. There's no problem shooting a primer early in the morning like I did, but it's ramping up to about 90 degrees, 95 degrees with 100% humidity, it feels like. So I will not shoot the blue in that weather, but I can keep working on the primer, sanding some areas out that need some attention, and we'll be prepped up and ready to go middle or later part of this week. You will see this body tub turn into a Sierra blue complete vehicle. So that's what's coming, and I'll be back with you in just a little bit. Okay everybody, we are back in the paint area, and what I have here is the hood. I gave this 3 coats of that high build primer and sanded everything down. There was a lot of areas on this hood, on this particular side, that were severely wrinkled, and through careful planishing and 3 coats of primer, I was able to work everything out without any filler or anything. If I can at all help it, I don't like to put filler in hoods. You're opening and closing them a lot, and they do take a lot of heat. It's not a big deal, but if I can avoid it, I like to not put filler in hoods. And this hood is filler free. I took a little bit of extra primer, but no big deal. The body has been wet sanded as well. You can see a few areas we came through, but it is nice and smooth now. And this isn't a you know, a show winning or a show car paint job on this. I mean, we're still doing the right steps, using good quality material, But the customer on this is very realistic and understands a Jeep is supposed to look like a Jeep, and they came out pretty rough from the factory. And we're not making this rough, but you know, little things. I think you could pick up a few little things like this on the wheel well. We're not going to spend hours and hours and hours making it more perfect than it should be. So it is quite refreshing to have a customer that wants a good paint job but doesn't want to, you know, spend thousands and thousands of dollars just knocking dents out that were probably there, you know, when the vehicle came off the assembly line. You always saw all the spot welds, and the paint was on real thin on the factory vehicles, and you know, it's just, if you were to see a factory vehicle today, you would think the paint job is terrible. But you know, that was back in the 40s, 50s, and 60s, and things are different, and chemicals are different, and paint's different now, and we're just not chasing down every little spot weld and trying to smooth the whole vehicle over. And when you make them too smooth, they look a little funny. So we're leaving, you know, the natural look of the Jeep in. We're not going to spend too much time going crazy. Like I say, I did prime it and block sand it because you just have to do that just for adhesion, and you want one coat to stick to the next coat, so that's critical. But as far as chasing things down, we're going kind of easy on that. Now here's the fenders. You can see I have the DP20, the white primer on the inside. Then I have the high build on the outside. And these fenders were heavily pitted along this edge here. And again, I didn't want to put filler in there, so I put 3 coats of primer on there and blocked it out real good. And I got all the pitting out. This one has, it's hard to see, there's a tiny dent in here which I'm going to knock out. It's just ever so tiny, and I'll get that out. But again, use the high build primer on the outside, no sense in wasting it on the inside. You know, paint and chemicals are expensive enough. You don't want to go you know, putting the very expensive stuff on the inside where you're just not going to see it. This is going to come out fine. There's 3 coats of the DP20 on there, and that builds real nice. We scuffed it down. We're going to shoot the blue over that. There is the glove box door. That's got to get some sealer on it. So everything's coming along, and right now, again, the underside of the hood doesn't have the high build primer on it. Underside of the body doesn't have the high build primer on it. And what I'm going to do now is thoroughly wipe this down. And we'll get some pre-paint cleaner on there. Really wipe it down, blow it off, blow all the junk out of there. 95% of your dirt when you're doing a paint job either comes from inside the vehicle or on the vehicle, or from the painter, you know, it's on your body. So take extra care to clean the surfaces real good. Blow all the dust off. Clean yourself off real good. Take some compressed air, blow off your clothes and stuff before you start painting. And see, like, here's a spot weld. Here's a spot weld. Here's a spot weld. See, we're not going after those, you know. There's some shops that they just want to fill everything perfectly smooth and go over the whole entire vehicle with filler and then block it all out, and it looks funny. Like I said, it's very nice to have a customer that understands that and wants that to actually show. You can see them all along here. And that's supposed to be there. It was in every factory paint job. So don't get crazy and make yourself crazy over every little thing. Just paint it. Leave the spot welds in. It's going to look fine. So I'm going to wipe this down, and what happens next is a skinny coat of sealer is going to go on there. I'm going to reduce it down probably 30-40%. We're going to squirt a coat of sealer on there. I'll probably use the gray color because we're putting that Sierra blue on there. And then anywhere from 4 to 6 hours later, I could shoot the blue. But what's going to happen is I'm going to shoot the sealer on the outside. I'm going to shoot the sealer on the outside of the hood and the outside of the fenders. and then the body is going to get flipped over. We'll lay the blue on the body and on the inside, you know, while it's upside down, some of those critical areas. I'll show you some areas. I think you see them right here. It's very hard to get underneath that area when the body's sitting like this. So while it's upside down, get underneath there and spray those areas. Just cut them in real nice with some blue. Make the underside of this blue, and then flip it over and do final paint on the outside of everything. So right now I'm going to wipe it down, mix up some sealer, run around this with some sealer, get everything ready for blue, and maybe later this afternoon. It's very early in the morning now, sun's just coming out, birds are singing, everything is nice and quiet. So I'm going to shoot the sealer, doors are open, and everything is good. So, sealer's going on. I will revisit you when I start to shoot the blue. Okay, yesterday, before I flipped the body over, when it was in the position it's in right now, I did the inside of the toolbox, and did the lid of the toolbox, and then I flipped it. And when it was upside down, I did all the edging, because that's the best way to get it. I did all the under edging around this lip here. I got behind here. I got this area. It's hard to get in here and try and hold a gun because you're painting directly at yourself and you're leaning into wet paint on the outside. So when this is upside down, the underside of the cowl, everything gets one coat, so it's blue looking. You're not going to see any of this once the dash is in. Normally on the factory Jeeps that wasn't even painted. It was just in primer up under the cowl here. It was always thin behind these cowl supports, but we're trying to get paint in there to stop rust and everything. And so now all this stuff is edged, and it'll make the paint job inside a lot easier. Okay, when I paint the outside and the inside, I'm also going to paint inside the wheelhouse again, put another coat in there. If this was a show quality restoration or something like that, or this was going to be a high dollar car, I would paint the underside, and then I would take and mask and drop a plastic or some masking paper all around the entire body, and I wouldn't spray again on the inside. Same thing with the inside. I would spray the inside, then I would completely mask off the entire body so nothing got inside, and then I would do the outside. Project like this, it's just going to be a Sunday driver. We're going to paint everything in one shot. I'll keep everything nice and wet. That's going to be the key. Put 2 coats on the inside, and then I'll put 3 coats on the outside. But it's critical to keep the whole inside wet. And when I'm spraying the outside, naturally I'm going to get some spray on the inside, and we'll put a final solvent mix on there and get everything melted into shape. But I'll show you that, hopefully, if it's not too full of overspraying here. Maybe I get some shots of the actual paint work going on. So let me mix up some paint and I'll be right back with you. Okay guys, got 3 coats of urethane on here. And I think you can kind of pick up the depth of the paint there. You could see the sealing and the reflection there. And we got the fenders finished up. And tailgate's hanging over here. That's finished up. Body tub is, I think you could still see everything is nice and wet. It's just drying now. Got 3 nice wet coats on there. And even on the floor, I think you could see the gloss coming up. And like I say, you've got to keep everything nice and wet. Use a slow reducer and the gloss will come right up for you. You use a fast reducer and you don't get as deep a gloss. Once you start playing around with it, you'll understand what I'm talking about, but the slowest reducer you can use, the better. You can see we're picking up some nice gloss on the floor. Rear floor came out wonderful. And we're just going to lay low for a little bit, let this stuff harden up. And again, this isn't a show vehicle, so there's not going to be any sanding and buffing and polishing or anything like that. I'll show that on another vehicle one day and show you how all that gets done. But this is just basically as it's shot. No polishing, no sanding, no buffing, no anything. Like I say, just a driver. Not going to get crazy and go crazy expensive on this because customer is not after that kind of project. But here it is, and that's just about the end of this paint project. Next paint project is going to be that snowblower Jeep, and that's a base clear setup, so I'll show you how I lay that down. And hope you enjoyed watching this come from a rusty sheet metal body to finished paint. So as always, I appreciate you guys watching, and if you like the video, hit the like button, subscribe, tell a friend about the channel. Channel's growing pretty good, and I appreciate everybody and all the comments and the positive little notes you send me. That works out real nice, and I know you're enjoying the kind of content I'm putting out. So I will catch you on the next video, and until then, thanks for watching.